Everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be looking at the patch notes for 11.14. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. It's quick, it's easy, just takes a couple of clicks. I know sometimes it can be annoying to sign in, but especially if you're already signed in, just go ahead and make those couple of clicks. It really helps out. Then we stream every night, League of Legends, starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually go till about 2 or 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very friendly, chill community. We'd love to have you out there. I'm trying to be as interactive as possible with the chat, so I'm happy to answer any questions you have about anything going on in the patch or champions, recommendations, whatever you want to talk about, or anything non-league related. So come on out, very friendly. I'm happy to talk with you. And then we're also covering Total War Warhammer. I'm going to get back on that here pretty soon. We have dozens and dozens of legendary campaigns if you're interested in that. Been doing Burning Crusade Classic on Wednesdays and Thursdays, usually starting around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stream it, same place on YouTube. So if you want to see some rating from a healing perspective, be sure to check that out. And then I'm also going to start releasing my playthrough of Final Fantasy XIV in sort of an episode a day installment. So be sure to check that out. I know it's been really popular lately with some of the popular streamers talking about it, so I figured I'd give it a try. It's been a lot of fun so far. So if you want to see how that is, be sure to check that out. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. So overall, I don't think the game is in a bad state balance-wise. I think the vast majority of champions are pretty reasonable for solo queue, kind of that mid-range, that platinum to silver type of range at least. I know there's always going to be some dominance at the top, but I don't think they need to do a ton. The only thing I would say is Stridebreaker is pretty far out of line. There's a couple other items that are problematic, but I don't think they need to do a ton. But I've kind of skimmed through this, but let's see what they did here. Okay. So Akali can no longer cast her Q while she's in the air with her E. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think just champions being able to cast stuff while they're dashing like that, it is fun, I suppose, but if she can just like buff it or something for when she lands, I think that does allow for some more counterplay from enemies, so I guess that's okay. And then perfect execution, base minimum damage is down 15, and then down 45 on the second one, so that's going to hurt her all in quite a bit. I don't think she was that much of a problem, at least in solo queue. Like, yeah, good Akali's could be problematic, but they're saying even at average levels of play, she was okay. I feel like that wasn't true. Most of the Akalis that I saw pretty much got smashed. Yeah, this is a 48% win rate. So, I mean, it's not horrible for a champion that has, like, a really high skill cap, but I would certainly not call that, like, you know, dominating or picking up steam in solo queue. I realize that this is mostly for pro and, like, challenger, but anyways, I guess that's fine. I kind of hate to see it because she is an interesting champion. She does have a really high skill cap to her. And I like to see those champions be relevant in the meta. And the problem is if their numbers get nerfed too much, pros are just not going to play them. They're just going to play something that's just way more consistent, that's easier to play. And I think that's less fun for pros, and it's less fun for viewers as well if people are, you know, everyone's just playing like Garen and Sona and stuff like that. Not that there's anything wrong with those champs, but I think people like to see the high skill cap stuff too. Okay, Darius. Speaking of which, why are they buffing this champion? I've talked about this before. Like, he's still really, really good, especially in, like, gold minus. And no one plays him in pro, so you don't even need to try to balance him around pro. They're saying because he lost his dash on Stridebreaker, he was fine before that. He's always, like, you know, a pretty good win rate. He didn't need that dash. He already has Ghost and Flash that he can take. He has a way to gap close with his E. And if he just beats a bunch of other melee assassin or, like, melee bruiser champions up. Like, most of the time, he's extremely good into those champions. So I really don't think this buff was warranted. And again, I don't think he's that interesting of a champion. I guess his win rate is like... I'm a little surprised that it's like 48 or 49%. But they're nerfing Akali, who basically has the same win rate. And they're buffing Darius, who's a much less interesting champion, in my opinion. They're also buffing Deadman's Plate, which is pretty good on him if he wants to do that. But... he's not even using Stridebreaker most of the time. Like, he's using Trinity now. So, I don't know. I guess fine. So, he can grab you a little bit more early on with the E, and his passive does more damage. Sure. Okay. Dr. Mundo. Now, I'll be honest, I don't remember everything they changed about this guy, but I have seen him played in Pro a bit more. And in solo queue. I'm not 100% like what his win rate is. There. Okay, 52. So that's what I thought. It seems like he does okay in my games. Not like hard domination, but he's all right. So I'm not really sure why they think they need to buff him so much. I think he's okay. And again, he's kind of in the Darius, style in my opinion, where he's just a very simple to play melee champion that's a stat check on the enemy. And it's fine to have those champs in the game, but I don't think they need to be 53% win rate champs. I don't think that's good for the game. So his health regen's going down. The cooldown for his passive is starting higher, working its way down. Okay, so those two are nerfs. Infected Bonesaw now heals for 100% of its cost if it hits a monster. Now the same as when it hits a champion. Okay, so I think that's a buff. I don't remember what it was, but it sounds like it was less than that. So that's a buff for the jungle. Small monsters are immediately sent flying whenever it dies. I don't know if they do extra damage when they fly. Kind of like what Scion does when he kicks stuff, but that could be relevant. And then he does 200% extra damage against monsters, but less against minions. So they're trying to make him a lot stronger in the jungle, and I think that's, encouraging the power farm stat check junglers that have been plaguing, League for the last year or so, right? We've been through Karthus and Lilia. Now, those actually do have some skill to them, the Karthus and Lilia power farm junglers. But then more recently, in the last few months, we had Udyr and, Skarner and stuff like that. And I think so many people hated the Udyr meta. It's because he's just like these champs, except he's fast. Mundo's not as fast as he is, but he's just a stat check, melee, pretty low skill cap champion. And I don't know. I just don't want those types of junglers to be the super meta. I mean, that's cool that makes AD carries and peeling and proper 5v5, front to back team fights more relevant than, say, like a Kha'Zix meta, which is much more, skirmish, assassination, that type of stuff. But anyways, I don't think he needs the help that much, but sure. And they're buffing Garen. 3 of these, low skill cap stat check champs. Garen literally doesn't have a single skill shot. So decisive strike, 30% extra movement speed. Okay, don't like it. Damage from the target's missing health, so a higher execute. Okay, so again, they're saying, well, with the nerf of Stridebreaker and Deadmans, he doesn't need that to run people down with his Q. And they're buffing Deadmans on this patch. So anyways, fine. I don't really like those. It will make their win rates go up, but it's probably okay. Bring back Ornn. Why not Ornn? If you want there to be some meat shield champs, why not Ornn? He's interesting. I mean, he does give a lot of stat checks, with his items, but they could tone down the items. But I think his base kit, requiring that prep, setting up the pillar, running people into it. There's a lot of other terrain you can do that with. His ram, which can be interrupted, but can also be a huge AoE damage. I think champions like that are way more interesting than Darius and Garrett in the top lane. But anyways, okay. Graves, 2 extra AD, probably not going to matter. He's having a hard time in this meta because sorry, I just realized I had a little bit of pizza sauce still in my mouth there, but he's having a hard time because a lot of what made him strong has been changed, right? So the phase rush, where he could just kind of kite everybody, has been changed. And then all these other champs have gotten all this extra movement speed. So that's changed. And then he just hasn't been able to use Gore Drinker or Stridebreaker that well. And that's really what the meta has been a lot of times with these sort of bruisery champs. So he has a hard time breaking through that. So I don't think this is going to change. I mean, it'll help him out a little bit. He does have really high scaling with AD, so, maybe don't underestimate those two points there, but I still think the rest of his kit is not going to be phenomenal. Black Cleaver was buffed last patch, so that could be a thing that's useful for him, and maybe he can still go Shield Bow or something. I think they made the shield bigger and the lifesteal bigger, and they lowered the attack speed, I believe, which is good for him, but he just doesn't bring anything else to the table. He has virtually no CC. He does have the smoke screen, but I just don't think he can dominate as early in scale as well as he has in the past, primarily because he doesn't use the really strong melee items that I mentioned. Okay, Lowly 10 extra movement speed. This is good, but I still think people are just going to be able to run out of her tentacles, and that's the bottom line. Is she's a very linear um, type of champ where if they stay in the tentacles, she can dominate anybody. But if they just walk out of them or dash out of them, then she's, can't do anything when she doesn't have her ult, I feel. So I would like to see them just, like, work with the ghost interaction some more. I think that's a pretty cool thing where maybe she could grab the ghost more. Maybe the slow works for longer. So if she actually, or maybe she can trigger the ghost faster. Maybe it does less damage, but if she could trigger that faster and get the slow on them and then ult them, I think that would open up her play pattern a lot. If they had to use a flash or a dash or get a Quicksilver Sash or something to get out of that. So I would like to see something like that, a quality of life buff to help her out. Just play around the tentacles, break the tentacles for the slow. I mean, they could give her the Xin Zhao treatment, right? Something like that where instead of pulling the soul away or something like that, then she's able to somehow leap onto them after they get that slow. Maybe after she triggers the slow or something, if she breaks the ghost, she could press a button or combo it together with something else. Maybe her ult gains range or something, like 600 range, and then she like gap closes and slams it on them after they get the slow. Something like that. That worked really well for Zen. Maybe worked too well for Zen, some people would say, where he has a gap closer now with his stab. I think they need to give her something like that, an additional gap closer. But anyways, I don't think that's going to matter. Maybe at like gold minus, this will help out some for people who are foolish enough to like stay in your tentacles. But anyways, okay, Irelia. Now this was kind of perplexing to me. There's a lot of, this is one of those things where it's like a bunch of buffs and nerfs, and I just don't play her enough to really like fully appreciate everything that's going on here, but I'll try. So she's losing 60 health at level 1, which I thought was just like nail in the coffin, you're done. But she does gain 15 per level. So at level 4, she's basically the same health. And then she's gaining from there, right? So at level 8, she's going to have 60 more health. So that does help her in the mid-game quite a bit there. She does have less magic resist. So now she's a lot more vulnerable to like bully magic champions early. Maybe like Rumble, things like that. Ionian Fervor. Now it just goes to 4 stacks, but those 4 stacks are the same as the 5 stacks, from what I can tell. Yeah, it looks like it's the same. It actually scales a little bit higher. At least on the bonus attack speed is the same. And on this, it is lower at the top end. It's 61 instead of 66, but if you have 100 AD, it's pretty close. You get an extra 5% scaling. So at 100 AD, actually, it's the same thing. So as long as you have 100 AD or more, then this is a buff. So it's trying to encourage you to get more AD, I suppose, which I think is healthy. I really hate the bruiser champs that can just build pretty much all tank items like Sterix, Gore Drinker, Stride Breaker, Sterix, and just like annihilate people and be impossible to kill. Okay, so the dash range is down by 100. That could be really bad. I don't know. I know on Rakan, they nerfed his movement range a lot more than that, but it felt extremely noticeable. But hers is not like a piece of CC. She's just gap closing onto people. But that, I mean, if she is trying to dash to a bunch of minions to heal up or to dodge stuff or whatever, it could matter. So I don't know. That probably feels bad, but could be good. I mean, that's basically like a 15%-ish nerf on the movement speed there. Probably a little, it's 115. I guess it's like a 7%. It's like 1/15. Okay, and then bonus damage to minions is down significantly. Well, let's see. So at level 10, it's 120. Okay, how about level 5 is 6? So, okay, again, I think at level 6 or 7, that's going to be the same, and then it's going to actually be more after that. So I think this is a buff, right? Because per champion level, if it's 7, that'd be 84 plus 55 is more than 135. So, yeah, I think she breaks even about level 7 or so. So, not really sure. So it's going to give her more power in the late game. So a lot of this looks like it's a lot more power later on in the game, with like a little bit lower between like levels 1 and 5. Defiant Dance. Okay. 40 to 80% physical damage reduction. 80% is a lot. Is that based on... Oh, that's based on levels, too. So you can just have 1 point in this. And it gives you some magic resist. Remember if it currently gives you any magic resist or not. Or magic damage reduction. Maximum damage output. Now, this looks pretty high to me. Now, you have to put points into it, I think, to get this. But it can go up to 210 instead of 140. But I'm pretty sure you like max E second, although I'm not 100%. But even if you don't put extra points in this, it still has much better scaling. The 150% AD and the 120% AP is pretty nice. So, buff for the most part. Except, again, in the very early levels, you're losing 10% physical damage reduction. But I don't know exactly when it smooths out, but probably level 6 or 7, you're getting positive there. Flawless Duet. Now, this is one where it's hard to gauge this unless you played the champ a lot. It says, based on distance, now it's 0.25 at all levels. So, that kind of change can potentially feel really horrible. I just don't know. I'd have to play it and see it in action. I know when they did this to Janna, this, like, standardized speed or whatever on her tornado, it was like one of the biggest nerfs in her entire history of the 100 nerfs she's had, right? Because it used to be you could cast the tornado instantly and it would really disrupt stuff like Leona coming in and other stuff trying to dash on you. But now that it always travels a minimum fixed distance or something like that, and a minimum damage, or like at a certain speed, they like standardized it. It made it much, much, much worse in like those really clutch encounters where you need to basically do an instant cast tornado. It made it a lot harder. So now, a lot of the time, Leona is going to get close enough to be within her empowered Q range, even if you tornado her virtually instantly when she E's. Versus before, you would more comfortably knock her back. She'd be like an extra 100 units away, which is a very big deal in a lot of situations. So this could be one of those things that feels really horrible. That's the same thing I think they kind of did with Rakan. They like standardized his like knock-up speed or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but these types of things can feel really, really bad. So I don't know what it used to be when you were really close. Now, it could be really good. I mean, if you're casting at max distance and it used to be like 1 second, I don't think it ever was that much. But if it was like half a second, now it's 0.25, maybe it's better in some scenarios. I don't know. I feel like most of the time she's casting this close range, and so I'm not sure. Now, you can't finish it also if you get CC'd, so now someone can interrupt it, which obviously is going to be a nerf. She should not be able to finish it if she gets interrupted anyways. That's probably a good change, but it could be a really big nerf. I don't know. I'd have to look at the Irelia experts to know about that. Vanguard's Edge. Now it always reduces your Q cooldown as a passive by 0.5, 1.5, and 2.5 seconds. So it seems pretty good. I don't know what the cooldown is on it. I know your cooldown gets reset if you kill the target, like a minion, so it won't matter for like minion resets. But for all ends, maybe this means that you get an extra, couple of Qs off. But typically, you're getting resets on the Qs anyways, right? I think you get a reset if you hit them with your E or if you hit them with your ult. I'm pretty sure all of your abilities put that mark on them, and then that gives the reset to it. So it'll probably help a little bit in like really extended fights. So overall, I think this is a buff. It all depends on how bad this is. I think this is the biggest thing. This missile travel speed, 0.25. I'm trying to visualize like, dun, dun. I feel like it's slower. Because I think it's like she puts a thing up, it's like dun, puts the other thing up, dun, and then it's bun, like that. I know that's not very precise, but it feels like if they're talking about the time from when you put up the second pole and when the thing connects, 0.25 feels slower. It feels like the thing that takes up the most time is putting up the 2 poles. But I don't know. Cool. I like that they're paying attention to her because she's another champion that I think is pretty interesting if balanced correctly. Trigger Seed going up by 20%. Ivern's been buffed a lot, both directly and indirectly, with all of the Moonstone buffs, and I think they buffed something else about him, so Ivern can be really good in the meta. As far as shielding champs go, he just takes a long time to kind of come online, and he can be disrupted early, but I like him. He's personally one of my favorite junglers, although he is extremely annoying to play against. He definitely He's a unique champion though, so I would like for him to kind of be in the jungle pool. Just to have an enchanter out of the jungle is interesting, I think, than just all of the meatball champs. So, and he actually could match up pretty well against some of these hard farm meatballs if you have the right kind of team comp for it. The things like the Mundo and stuff like that. Okay, Karma lowering her AD. This is going to matter in solo lanes. I don't think it's going to matter as much in duo lanes because her attack range is pretty small. It's like 500 or 525, so you don't land that many auto attacks. Maybe because you're against another range champion in the bot lane. Now, if you're mid lane or top lane and you're against a melee, you're going to be landing a lot more of those autos. So maybe this matters, but her win rate's really not that high, even at like pro level. Like, I think she's one of the most kind of overestimated champs. And I think, I mean, it's cool. I don't want to be like a Karma hater, but people ask me about her a lot. They're like, oh, she's really good. She's really good right now. And I'm like, is she though? He's 43% in pro. Now, that's across all roles right now. That she's not really making it happen in pro. Akali's 47%, so she's 48% in solo queue and 47% in pro. So I'm not sure who's just an Akali hater, but Gwen's 45. A lot of these champs that people think are really OP, it's like if you actually look at the stats across all regions, I'm sure there are like good players on those champs, but you know, it just across the broad population, it's really not as overwhelming as a lot of people think on some of these champs that announcers complain about and players complain about sometimes. And then Karma's 49%. So again, I don't think that warrants a nerf. I mean, what's her pick ban's only 65%, and her win rate's 43% in pro. And in solo queue, her pick ban is 15% with a 49% win rate. So again, I think she's just been overhyped, and the stats just don't bear it out. And I don't think she deserves that nerf. I think she's fine. Like, some people are good on her. Yes, she is good with hard pressure lanes. Senna Karma, Ezreal Karma, stuff like that, if you can snowball early, but that just hasn't really been a successful strategy, at least in a lot of the solo queue games I've seen. The early snowball, like, tower pressure comps just get whacked in the mid game by these flanking meatball comps a lot of the time, and it looks like it's very similar in pro. So anyways, I don't think that nerf's justified, but again, I don't think it matters as far as the support role either that much. It's more for solo queue, or solo lanes. Okay, Lilia. So I don't remember seeing this previewed. But anyways, they're changing her around a lot. Again, I like if she's in the meta because she's unique. She's like not really an enchanter, but like an AP skirmisher type of champ. She's cool. I like it when she's in the meta, when she's not too overwhelming. Kind of like Ivern. I think she adds some extra spice to the jungle other than just your standard meatball, run at him, lots of CC jungler, your Sejuani type of jungler. Even though Sejuani herself hasn't been meta for a long time. Okay, health regen going down, whatever. Armor going up, okay. And now it does 6% of the target's maximum health instead of 5%. That's a lot. That's 20% extra damage. Capped against monsters, unchanged. Okay, so the cap's the same. And then it also scales now with 1.5% of her AP. So if she has like 200 AP, then you're going up to 6%. Now remember, this ticks. Like, that's not a one-time deal. I think, isn't it over like 5 seconds or something? That's a lot of damage. I'm pretty sure it ticks over 4 or 5 seconds. I haven't read her in a long time, but this seems like, at least, statistically very significant. 20% flat with an extra option for like almost 30% additional damage over what it used to be per 100 AP. Not quite, but it's a lot. It's a lot. And then we've got, she also heals for a flat amount and 12% of your total AP against champions and less against monsters. So now she heals for a lot more over that duration. She can only heal off one monster at a time. There's no limit on champs. So if she hits like 5 champions with this in the mid game, am I reading that right? That's 500 heal? If it's 100 each? Even the 12% like bonus AP? What? So she's basically going to be full health in the jungle now with the extra armor and the extra healing. Now, it's only on one monster at a time, but still, I'm pretty sure... Oh, over the duration of the burn. Okay, so that's not... It might just be 5% for the total burn, not 5% per second. 5% per second seems like a lot. But still, it's still quite a bit of damage. But I mean, it doesn't say there's... It says there's a cap on monsters, but not a cap on champs. So still, 500 damage over whatever length of time that is, 3 to 5 seconds, is a lot of healing. Okay, so that's huge. And then Blooming Blows, extra mana, okay. Jungle probably won't matter with the jungle items, but if she's out, you know, in an extended fight, not in the jungle, maybe that mana starts to become a problem. Okay, so she can only get 4 Prance stacks for the movement speed. So, baseline, she can only get up to 28% bonus movement speed. However, it does have 3% more per 100 AP. So if you can get to 200 AP, and I imagine the contemporary Lilia might go for that that CDR item. I always forget the name of it. The mask thing gives the ability haste plus the CDR, or the ability haste plus AP. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. But that new item that's become popular on a lot of champs that are like it's like 3,000 gold. She might go that, so she might be able to get to like 200 AP fairly easily. I think she's going to go for what the true damage... I'm just blanking out on all the item names right now. But the stacking true damage item, I assume, would be what she would go for. The stacking true damage item, and then maybe going for the ability haste one after that. And that, with runes and stuff, could get her pretty close to 200, maybe. But anyways, bonus movement speed, so it lasts longer. The time before the stacks falls off. Cooldown is higher at first, but then goes down after that. Okay, so she can't cast it as much early. And then the base damage is up a little bit. Okay, so nerfed early, stronger later. Probably fine because she's going to want to power farm anyways most of the time in the early game. Watch out, Eep. A lot more damage. 20 more base damage. And I think, doesn't it like scales? It does like 100% of the base damage if you hit them in the center or something like that. So the base damage being higher is a big deal. And then it's got the extra 5% scaling, which is nice. And then Swirl Seed is going up, so you probably are not going to be able to cast 2 of these in a fight. The slow is 40% at all ranks. That's really big in the early game if you hit it. And then the base damage is going up a little bit. Okay, so you're probably going to max W second instead of Swirl Seed, which I think is what you did anyways. Then Lilting Lullaby has a higher AP ratio. Sleep duration is lowered. Usually they don't sleep for the whole time though, right? I mean, it does matter. You know, you can use it if you hit a W from really far away. You could use it and give your team, 3 seconds to go in or whatever. I mean, maybe she uses Shirelia's or something. I'm not sure. I don't know. It might depend on the comp. But anyways, okay. That's good. The slow duration is lowered. And the slow no longer increases, I guess, with level. So that's a nerf to that. It's hard to say, but I feel like this is a buff to her overall, right? Just the healing alone is massive. That's going to keep her like much healthier in the jungle, especially for kind of lower level Lilias, your plat, gold, silver, lower, that type of stuff, who don't kite the camps as well. That's going to help out. And then her passive just giving so much extra damage. And a lot of that, I think, is... Doesn't it get converted to true damage, or a certain percentage of it gets converted to true damage too? I think is going to be pretty good if they get hit by the outer portion. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've played her or played against her. But anyways, I think it's a buff. I think it's going to be pretty big. Excuse me. Okay, so Malzahar, less health early. Man, he is made of paper. That's like Sona level health. He's going to get annihilated in the early game by anything that can really pressure him. 27 HP early is a very big deal. Call of the Void is going down. Is Malzahar really that impressive? I think he's like solid. He's just kind of a solid champ. Has good wave clear, good CC. But his damage is already pretty low, and he's kind of made of paper already. So, I I'm not entirely sure that he needed a nerf, but his win rate's probably pretty good. He's just a consistent champ. Okay, yeah, I guess 54% is pretty good. He's not played a ton, but I guess. Yeah, I mean, they are right. The buff to the Mana Mythics does help him out. It allows him to get Leandries faster, and he's pretty good off of 2 items. Okay, Nocturne. Assistant Force to be reckoned with. Stridebreaker. Yes, Stridebreaker's really OP on him. We're nerfing Stridebreaker this patch. Okay. Alright, so they're trying to push him out of lane so he doesn't heal as much in lane. I don't know about lane Nocturne. He's, like, probably pretty good. I'm really, like, seeing him a lot in the jungle, and he's very strong. So, yeah, I like nerfing this champ. It's just, when he can do so much sustained damage and he has such easy access to the back line, I think it's just too strong. I think they need to take a look at healing again, too. Like, they need to just take healing off of Conqueror and do something else. Give it more AD. Maybe give, like, at max stacks, you get some extra movement speed or something. I don't know. Whatever it is, they need to just lower healing in the game. They've already lowered it some, but it's just, these champions, a lot of them, they will have some kind of healing in their kit, and then they'll just get Conqueror, Triumph, sometimes, like, Ravenous Hunter, sometimes Bloodline. It's just so much free healing without having to invest specifically in healing and items. And even the healing items can be pretty strong, right? Like, Gore Drinker's really strong right now. You see, like, Shield Bow on champions like Samira is just way too strong because of the way that it interacts with their ultimate. So, yes, there are Grievous Wounds options available, but if someone has to get those Grievous Wounds, it puts them pretty far behind in most builds because Morellonomicon's not really optimal in a lot of situations. I mean, really, the Grievous Wounds just make you go out of your way significantly versus the healing, you're not going out of your way most of the time. It's just, you just have it because of runes. So I think it gives a lot of champions a very strong advantage who have just free healing without having to buy it. If they want to do that, let's just go ahead and do some free Grievous Wounds without buying it, right? Like, make a rune that's like, at level 10, you get Grievous Wounds or something like that, you know? I don't know. And he's definitely an offender in that camp, I think, where he'll just get Stridebreaker, and then sometimes just like Sterix or whatever, and then Conqueror and all that crap I just mentioned, and just be almost impossible to kill while getting on the back line, having the CC, having the utility of his ultimate, and just doing a lot of consistent damage and healing a ton for no reason. So anyways, this is a start, but I think they need to look at some of the healing off of runes and either cut the healing, which is what I recommend, or make the Grievous Wounds items actually build into something that's not too far out of the way. Okay, nerf to Prowler's Claw in 11-13 made Rek'Sai very sad. Okay, true. Still don't think it's going to matter. A little bit of extra damage on Prey Seeker, which you don't use a ton. And then the Queen's Wrath, that's every auto attack does extra damage, so it's like 15 extra damage on your combo. I don't think it's going to matter. She's just too easy to kite and play around. Like, she can hard dominate early at pro levels because they really use her detection capabilities and to be able to hunt down the enemy jungler and track them and all that kind of stuff. So she can be, like, okay at high level play, but I just don't think this is going to matter too much. I think stuff like Xin Zhao is too strong right now. Diana in pro level play. Okay, Seraphine, a little bit of extra damage. That's cool. Remember, this can pop twice, so that could be more significant than it appears. But overall, still don't think it's matter that I don't think it's going to matter that much. Shaco, health probably doesn't matter. Maybe a little bit. Movement speed, that is actually significant because not only does it affect clear in the jungle, but his whole, like, opening strategy is usually when he goes in off of his Q, he has to, run over there and get behind people and get the box in before he comes out of invisibility. So that could actually matter quite a bit for Shaco's. Again, it's going to be difficult to know how much that matters unless you're a Shaco one trick, but that feels very significant, losing that. So I don't think it's going to be like you can't play him anymore, but I think that's definitely good for a 0.5% to a percentage nerf, which I think is fine. He does have a really high win rate right now, but kind of like some of the other champions that I've mentioned, I think he's really cool to have in the meta. He's annoying as hell when he's fed. Don't get me wrong. I hate getting blown up, like, one shot by Shaco too when I'm playing a squishy champion, but I still personally think that he's more interesting to have in the meta than, again, your Sejuani type of champs. I mean, Sejuani actually does have some skill shots that is kind of interesting. Udyr, I think, would be the most, I don't know, egregious. Are you heading out?
Can I get some gas money?
Yeah, just give me a second. Give me like, I gotta finish this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I stay in
Yeah, sure, if you want to. But yeah, so I think he's interesting, and I hope he stays in the meta a little bit. And he's diverse. You can go AP, you can go AD. He's tricky. Like, yeah, a really good Shaco is very annoying, but I would rather be annoyed by that, something that's sneaky, something that I can maybe like try to figure out and outplay, than just something that runs at you and you just lose because you don't have the stats to beat him. Okay, Tahm Kench. I know a bunch of people, especially Butter on the channel, really loves Tahm Kench, and these buffs do look pretty good for him. I was kind of sad that he was in such a bad state. I played him a lot. He was my most played champ in Season 7 before he got hard nerfed, turbo nerfed. I guess maybe Season 6, but a long time ago. So his acquired taste is now doing a flat amount of damage plus an additional 2% bonus health. So this is very nice, especially in the early game laning for Tahm in the bottom lane. Having a flat amount of damage is good. Tongue Lash also now deals damage from acquired taste. This is actually huge for his harassment because now you're getting 2.5% of his bonus health. So early on, I don't know, that might be an extra 4 or 5 damage, but you also get this this flat damage now too. So that's giving like probably 15 to 20 extra damage even at level 1, and then it's scaling up from there on his Q, which is a lot. I don't know what the Q is offhand. It's probably like 70 or 80 damage. That's a lot of extra damage in the early game. The heal, so it now heals him for a flat amount as well, in addition to a percentage of missing health. So once again, this is going to be very, very good for early game trades. Will it be good enough to hang with stuff like Zyra on trades, or to win an all-in against Leona or Nautilus or whatever? Probably not. I don't know, maybe, but it'll be rough, but it certainly helps. It's a step in the right direction. And then W did not work with ability haste apparently, so that's obviously a massive buff that actually works now. And then the cooldown and cost reduction refund is 40%. Is that a I mean, how often does he cast that? It is 10% extra cooldown, so I guess if he can land this once, I'll have to play him and see if he can land this once on somebody. And then, like, if this is the difference between him landing it, like, once or twice or even 3 times in a fight, that's a big deal. If it's not, then maybe it doesn't matter. But if they're trying to make him into this permanent, like, you just keep Wing and hitting them, and knocking them up and then, like, tongue lashing them, and if that allows him to chain a lot of that stuff together and just be, like, super sticky, and that could be really good. Okay, and then Devour, you're getting a better shield, okay. Don't know it's going to matter a ton. It might, though. Ally self-slow. So, okay, so now you can run faster when you eat them. That's good. Fixed a bug where you could devour an enemy without full stacks. Okay. They need to lower the cooldown on this. Or, like, if you devour an enemy, you get refunded half of the cooldown or something like that. Because I feel like whatever it is right now, 120 seconds, this just is not strong enough of an ultimate. Because, like, the rest of his kit, I mean, it's okay, I guess. I don't know. I have to try it out. Maybe with some of these new items, he's going to be a bit stronger, but... okay, so Starlight Touch on Taric. So anyways, we'll try him out. I think this definitely helps. Definitely helps. So we'll see. He was kind of in an abysmal state, but maybe for some all-in lanes, this could be pretty good. Okay, Taric. Q cost is down by 5 per rank. I don't think that's enough. I thought they were maybe toying with 10. 10 might be enough. The problem is you spam this all the time. Like, your pattern in a lot of fights is just auto Q, auto Q, auto Q, and then, like, sprinkle in some E's every now and then. What they need to do, I don't know why they haven't figured this out for years, is every auto attack refunds some amount of mana. Then you get rewarded for staying in combat, landing your auto attacks. You get punished just for using your Q, not in combat, which I think he should be punished for that. It should be a long cooldown, a wimpy heal, and cost a lot of mana. Like, he should be a battle enchanter. He should have to get in there and land the autos to work. But he's just not rewarded enough for it right now. Like, you're working so hard with him, landing autos, putting yourself in danger, and, you know, someone like Lulu's just going to hang out, you know, on the back line and do nothing. Pretty, like, you're doing stuff as Lulu, but you're not exposing yourself to as much danger, and you're just way more effective and way more mana efficient. Because Lulu doesn't, he has to buy armor, he has to buy health. Lulu doesn't have to buy those things, you know, go out of her way to buy them. She can spend much more time getting healing and shielding. Same thing with Janna, same thing with Yuumi. All these other enchanters that are kind of these healer support things don't have to get armor and health as much. And so that's really the problem with Taric, is he needs too many stats. He needs armor, he needs health, needs extra healing, extra mana regen, needs all of these things, and he inherently puts himself in danger a lot more by having to go into melee. So that's the problem. So he needs to get rewarded much more for that. So Dazzle is down by 20 mana. Again, that's nice, because you could cast a few different Dazzles, you know, in the fight, but just put it on his auto attacks. He gets refunded 20 mana per auto attack. Maybe that's too much. 10 mana per auto attack. If they need to nerf his ult, I think they should nerf his ult and make it a percentage damage reduction instead of full-on invulnerability. So just make it like, when people are affected by that, damage is reduced on him by 50%. Or something like an Alistar ult for your team. And in exchange for that, every auto attack refunds a large amount of mana for him. There are champions that are already like that, where auto attacks refund energy, like with Lee Sin and stuff like that. So I don't know. So this helps. I'm not entirely convinced it's going to bring him back. The buff to Frozen Heart was very nice a few patches ago. That's one of his favorite items historically. But anyways, almost done. Okay, so Xin Zhao, when becomes lightning, cooldown is a little bit higher at later levels. I don't think this matters as much. He's super strong right now. I mean, maybe it matters. He does get his, I think he gets all of his cooldowns lowered whenever he auto attacks with his Q. So, like, this extra 2 seconds sounds like a lot, but it may not be that much, especially when you have ability haste already built into most of his items, the stride breakers and stuff like that. But I don't know, maybe this does change his patterns and just makes him a little bit slow, allows people to get away a little bit better. I'm not sure. Zen is one of those stat check champs. There is some skill to him now, but with hitting the E and gap closing and stuff, but he is one of the stat check champs. He's the Udyr of our times, right? And that's, you know, what they're comparing him to is literally to Udyr right here, which is not good. But anyways, okay. Well, they're trying to nerf him. I think they maybe should have hit him a bit harder than that, but okay. That's basically his mobility, though. So he still does a ton of damage when he gets in there, but he's not going to be able to gap close as consistently on people after they use a cooldown to get away. All right, Ziggs, 60 less mana early. 480 is a lot. I don't know why you had that to begin with, but I don't think this champ's like that much of a problem. I don't know. He's okay, but a lot of it's just I see people that just don't know how to play him, trying him out in the bot lane. His win rate is pretty high. He is obnoxious when he's very far ahead because you can flank and kill him if they can't use their W properly, but he also just takes towers so quickly. In late game, he just stalls it out like a Nivea, so you really don't want this guy to be in the meta for too long without a lot of answers to him, because if he gets really popular, it can drag game times down by, you know, multiple minutes, so it's just not really, not great. But he is fun. He does have a lot of skill shots. He is kind of a wacky, you know, little explosive Yordle. Like, he's got a lot of cool sort of flavor about him, but maybe if they dial back his wave clear, like maybe that would be a good way to go. Make the mines do like 50% damage or something to minions. I don't know. But anyways, I guess that's fine. So that'll hurt his ability to spam early, like in the first like few levels, but once he gets the mana regen item, I can't remember the name of it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The thing that builds into Ludens. Or Leandri's, the book, Lost Chapter, there we go. Then he'll still probably be alright on mana. So it's really just for the first 5 levels or so. Okay, Deadman's, they were going to give it 10 more armor. They're only giving it 5. Okay, I mean, you know, they just have been talking about why mobility is a huge problem. So this could buff up Darius a little bit, although I think he's going to be going towards more of like a 2 damage items first before this later in the game. So this will help out stuff like Bard, stuff like Nunu. I don't remember who else. There'll be a couple other champs that might like this, but I think that's fine. I don't think Deadman's is the worst defender of the mobility stuff, and a lot of the champs that get this a lot have been nerfed in other ways. So if you like Bard, that's really good. Stride Breaker, okay, just throw this item in the dumpster. So what are they doing with it? So extra attack damage, cool. Let's give it some buffs, and then health going down by 300. So this is net negative on gold, but still, like, just nerf it. You don't have to give compensatory buffs. Like, I don't understand. Why can't you just take the health off of it? Okay, anyways, so that is a slight nerf there. Now, this is pretty big. Going from a 90% slow to a 40%, obviously is a big deal. I don't know who in R&D thought 90% slow for 3 seconds was a good idea. But, okay, so they're taking that off. That's a very big deal. And then a bunch of orange stuff. So, is this enough to take it out? I think people will probably still get it. Just because, like, the AoE damage is just too high on it. It just does way too much damage in team fights. And it still has a 3-second slow that doesn't decay. It's still extremely good. So I think, and now it's going to do even more damage, although it has less health on it. Or hit the ability haste on it. Take it down to like 10 ability haste. Or just take the ability haste off of it. I think it's still too good. This will help, but it's still going to be too strong. Okay, and then VFX stuff. Don't think that's going to matter. Ultimate Spellbook. I don't think I read... What is this even... let me see here. Your second summoner spell is replaced by... Wait, what? Brings a new event game mode. Oh, okay. Okay, that's a game mode. I was like an item. I was like, what? You get a second ultimate instead of one of your summoners? What is going on? Okay, so it's just a for fun game mode. Chat restrictions. Okay. If you're toxic, you get hit harder. Good. Bug fixes. I didn't see any of these. I don't think any of these probably matter. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably good. Anyways, that's going to be it for this patch. So I think that, I think it's interesting. I like that they're at least tapping Stride Breaker a little bit there. Other interesting stuff. The Tahm Kench is probably one of the more interesting support ones. This might make him more viable. I'll have to theory craft it and kind of study some of the people who've been playing him and see, but might make it good. Taric, sadly, probably not going to matter. Although I like that they're paying attention to him. Shaco could matter, probably not. Seraphine, Rek'Sai don't matter. Nocturne, still going to be really strong. Malzahar, still good. Lilia, probably a lot better off of this, especially in Pro. We'll see. Karma, probably not going to matter since she's already not that good. Maybe people just realize she's not as good as they think they are, that she is anyways. Ivern, cool champ, glad he's getting a buff. Irelia, glad she's getting some stuff to her. Could be a big nerf. It's hard to tell. So they've done like 3 or 4 like really big like sets of changes that are hard to sort of evaluate, but overall I think they're in the right place. I think these are all like pretty good changes except for the Darius, Mundo, Garen stuff, but I don't think it's gonna buff them hopefully too much. But anyways, that's gonna be it. Thank you very much. Be sure to stop by the stream. Starts around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night. We'd love to have you. Very friendly, chill community. I'll be trying out some of these things, new things starting tomorrow when they go into effect. And check out the rest of the offerings on the channel, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.